Kia ora, I'm Sean Ryan from 2040, the company, not the future. And today I want to talk to you about some changes to the Cacophony project bird tagging interface that you can see here. As a reminder, this is the interface on the Cacophony portal that allows you to listen to your bird recordings, see what birds have automatically been identified, and to verify, correct, or add to this. Here's an example taken from my house today. One of the first features I want to show you is our new band filtering that highlights the frequencies you've tagged and significantly reduces the frequencies that are outside of your tag. This makes it much easier to hear the birds that you're trying to identify. When I play this, you'll hear a lot of background noise. I think it's a vehicle or something like that, which kind of dominates the sound. You can hear the bird call, but it's difficult. Have a listen to this. That's quite noisy. I'll now play the same track with the filter on and have a listen to the difference this makes. It's quite dramatic. Some of the other changes we've made is previously the spectrogram here wasn't being drawn 100% correctly, which meant the boxes were shown at slightly the wrong heights. We've fixed that, and we've also made it a little bit larger and with higher resolution. Now sometimes these boxes aren't 100% in the right place, and so we've made it easy to change them. We've done that by making these lines a little bit thicker so it's easier to click on them, and when you click on them there are a couple of dots shown that let you change them. So for example, maybe I want this box here to just focus on these high frequency birds, and I want this box here to when you've clicked on the box, which I didn't do, when you've changed the size of it, to accept it you've got to press the tick here. And this one here we might make it so that it just does these these birds here, and not include the high frequency ones. Change that, press tick. Sometimes we're showing too many tags in a particular recording, and so so here there's, for example, there's some unidentified tags that are showing. So you can filter out any tags that you don't want to show. So you do that by clicking on this filter button. It's only available for admins, and the filters apply to the group. But say, for example, you don't want the unidentified tags to be shown. You can just select them. You may not want, say, birds from Norfolk. Do we have? No, I can't find those. I forget what they're called now. But for example, you may not want albatrosses. Can we find albatross? So you could filter out albatrosses if they're showing up for whatever reason. Our classification isn't perfect and does make mistakes. And if you have too many tags on there, it can just be a bit confusing. So when you apply those filters, then suddenly those ones you've selected are removed. Another small improvement we've done is we've just made it so the sound's louder, so it's easier to identify the birds. We've also made it so you can have as many pinned tags as you want. So a pinned tag, just to remind you, is if you want, say, bellbird, you can select that here, and if you want it so that you've got a button down here, you just press the pin, and that button's then permanent, so you can easily get to it without having to do the search. Before there was a restriction on how many you could have. Now you can have as many as you want. Another feature we've added, a privacy feature, is to optionally automatically detect human voices and automatically delete the recordings. So this is enabled by default now, and when this happens, a recording still appears in the search list and it appears grayed out, and when you click on it, this is what you see. You see this message saying human voice detected and the recording's removed. So you can't listen to this because it has been deleted, but we have kept the record of the fact the recording happened, and you can see that the human's been identified all through this recording, but you can also see any other tags that might be in there. So mostly human, a couple of unidentified tags, but that means you can still keep the data. Now this can be turned off at the group level. So if you go to your group page, there's an option here to filter audio recordings with human speech that you can untick, and then it won't automatically delete them. While I'm here, I thought I'd also show you a few other features on this bird recording page that we've had for a while, but you may not know about. One is you can change the color of the spectrogram by clicking on this and selecting a different option, just depending on whatever is your particular preference. You can also zoom in on both axes. So this frequency one lets you zoom in on the frequency, so you might want to zoom in and look at those lower frequencies. You can do that, or you can. Did I do that correctly? It just redraws it, and you can see it changes that. Or we can zoom in on the horizontal axis as well. So that's a pretty useful feature, hopefully. Another one is you can download recordings. What's that? Actually, with that zoom in, you can control the zoom by changing those bars if you want to. You can download recordings by pressing this download button if you want to save the recording and share it with someone else. You just do that and it saves the audio file for you. You can delete a recording by pressing the delete button. You can also do that if you decide you don't want to do that. One interesting thing is you can see who's tagged a particular tag. By clicking on this tag history, you can see it was Sean that it was me that identified this as a bellbird. Which was what I just did back there, and I better undo that because that actually wasn't a bellbird. So I will delete that. So you can delete a tag. You can also undo a deletion if you want to as well. Sometimes you may want to export all your data. So you can do this if you go to the recordings page. You can select your date range. Here it's just the last 7 days, but you can change that, make that whatever you want. And if you want to export this, you can just click on this little cog up here and go export. And it will export all of your data to a CSV file that can be opened in a spreadsheet. So let's have a look and see what that looks like. The recordings down here. And then all your data, including what sounds have been identified, and here for each line. Now this is really useful if you want to do some extended analysis, which is the sort of thing I've done in the past for Banks Peninsula. If you have a look at, do a search on my site for Banks, you can see the analysis I did where you can see some trends across their bird recorders or over time. So that was done by pulling the data into a spreadsheet and creating those pretty graphs. Another thing you can do on this page, if you want to delete some recordings, bulk delete recordings rather than doing them one at a time, you can select what recordings you want and then hit bulk delete. Be careful with that though, because you can delete a whole lot of recordings quite easily. Now you may have seen from our newsletter that we're no longer selling our bird monitor. This is because we're not able to get these cheap Android phones at any sort of reasonable price at the moment, and I think it'd be just too expensive. So what we're doing is we're working on creating our own custom bird monitor that we hope will be cheaper, more robust, and have solar connectivity. So that's coming. It's something we're actively trying to work on. We also have our new low-cost, low-power thermal camera that you can see here that has it has a microphone built into it. That's this little hole on the camera here. So we intend sometime down the track to do a software update to turn this into a bird monitor as well as a thermal camera. So be sure to stay up to date with what we're doing. You can do this by subscribing to our newsletter or following us on our various social media, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And that's all for today. Thank you.